Well, good morning, Interbet fans, and welcome, as usual, the frog in the throat. Welcome to the Durban July, Hollywood Bets, Durban July, 2,200 meters, and it's worth 5 million rand. And we've had a bit of rain. Unfortunately, haven't been able to ascertain exactly where the false rail cuts off, but they say it's a spur, which means it'll probably cut off as you turning into the straight, which means the front runners will be at a disadvantage, because as you turn into the straight, if the spur is cut off inside straight, it means that the front runners hold up the horses behind them and they can't get a run. But if it's cut off halfway just before the entrance to the straight, that certainly is a disadvantage to the front runners. And this race, as always, is all about pace. So let's have a quick look. I'm going to go through these horses one by one and give you my reading of what chance they've got in the race. We start off with number 1, Bless My Stars, a 3-year-old by Give Me the Green Light from the Terry operation, with Magudwa riding, drawn 1. Now this filly really could be a runner in this race. She likes to race handy. The draw will suit her. She did win the Classic. There's no reason why you wouldn't believe she'll get the trip, although pedigree seems to show that maybe she will, but maybe she hasn't got the trip before, but she's probably strengthening up. And I make her a lively runner, Bless My Stars, and probably the best outsider. 52 kilos, and Magudwa will get her in a good position. She'll just be able to sit on the fence and quicken up when she turns for home. Has she got the class? That's the question. Number 2, Without Question. Now here's a horse that's been backed. He's 7-1. Got 54.5, the son of United States, Justin Snaith, Richard Foree, and he's just grown in stature, this horse, but he seems to be held by See It Again. He's been beaten twice by him at levels. He now gets 2 kilos, but I don't know that that's enough to turn it around. I think they're both improvers, and the favourite should have his measure. But the 2 draw will help him. Justin Snaith and Richard Foree will help him. He's definitely got some sort of chance, but I'm not sure he's the best of the Snaith runners. I like one of the others. So we'll go through them one by one, as I said. 3 is Time Flies, the 4-year-old daughter of Dynasty from the Brett Crawford operation, 40-1, deserves to be 40-1. Is 1.5 kilos better off with Rain in Holland. It is a front runner. I think that might find it out, and she's got to definitely get the trip by Dynasty. So there's things that are going to make it come into play as to whether she's good enough. And my question about her, people are telling me she is. If I look at her form, I don't believe it is. The run behind Rain in Holland might be flattering, but we'll see when it comes to the race. Winchester Mansions, there's a lot of talk about this horse, and this horse is shortened dramatically in the betting. Now, I don't fancy this horse. I think that he lacks a class to win at July. He's well drawn. He gets a lot in his favour. He won the Cup Trial, which got him into the race. I don't think he would have gone into the race without winning the Cup Trial. But the horse he beat, Kwasi For Sure, I don't think stayed. And Kwasi For Sure had his measure at the 200-metre mark, looked like he had him stone cold. He went up from 103 to 112 to get in the race. Has he got the class? Only the race will tell. He seems well held on some collateral form by some of the others, and although drawn 4, that will help him. He's got a big problem. 5, Billy Bowlegs. Now here's a horse I'd love to see win the race for the connections. I think great connections, and they'd be very good for racing, but I don't like him. I did like him last time in the Champion Challenge. I liked him a lot in big race when he was beaten by Sana Raj, where he ran on extremely well. But this track, I think, can be a big problem for Billy Bowlegs. He is well drawn, but has he got the pace to get in the race early on? I don't believe it, and I think Sean Veal will be at him, and that will be his downfall. His best chance would be just to leave him alone, let him drop off the pace. There's going to be a pace in the race, and run on, but I don't think that will be the instructions. I might be wrong, and as a result, Billy Bowlegs cannot win the July for me. Do It Again. Well, 6 times he's run in the last 6 years. He's won it twice. And he runs on. He gets Gavin Loreen, and I think that Bernard Fairhope would have ridden him if he thought that he was the right one of his two, the chances that he got, Pomp and Power in this one. Gavin Loreen, a very good rider. Also that third run after a rest, everything in his favour, but he gets blinkers. That was a very interesting addition. To me, that's not going to help his run. Once in blinkers, wasn't a bad run. That was in Cape Met, over raced, and might not be to his liking to have blinkers. So do it again. He'll always be a horse that you'd want to include maybe in your bigger exotics. And when I'm giving this thing, I'm thinking about quartets and what horses I need to put in the quartet. Big carryover, you've got to play it on that basis. See it again. The 3-year-old son of Twice Over. Well, it's funny that these two horses, the one's an 8-year-old, the other's a 3-year-old, they're full brothers. I can tell you that the mare was owned by Robin Bruss, showed what a good breeder he was, and then now owned by Brockenstein Stud. He's done nothing wrong, this horse. It's very, very hard to go against him. He gets a little more weight than anyone's won the July with, but he's been super, super impressive. The way he beat Charles Dickens was no fluke. He then ran second to Charles Dickens. He looked like he probably just needed it. It was a warm-up run for him for the Daily News, and he absolutely slaughtered them in the Daily News. I know he only won by 3/4 of a length, but he won really well. What's against him? Striker, I don't think is the right rider for him. I know he's run one on him. His last 3 starts, 2 of his last 3 starts, but the July is something different. Now, remember Striker winning the July on London News? Went to the front very early in the straight and just hung on. Can't do that with this horse. This horse you've got to sit on and be patient. Should be able to help him by having a pace in the race, and there will be a pace in the race, but they've all got him to beat, I would have thought. Of the 3-year-olds, I think he's got them stone cold, and I don't see a 3-year-old beating him. Race at number 8, Silver Darling, the Silvana out of the Jetmaster mare, a 4-year-old filly. Her form's competitive. She's always there or thereabouts. She likes to race handy, 3rd run after a race, lots in her favour, but I don't think she's got the class. She's well held by Rain in Holland, and horses like that, I don't believe she can turn the form around. So Silver Darling, I think, is a hopeful. Son of Raj, this is probably the dark horse of the race. He was given a warm-up run at Greyville in the Daily News, and I think he ran pretty well. He was very impressive in beating Billy Bowlegs, and I think he'll beat him again. And he gets a good rider in Muzieni. He'd love to win the July. Is 14-1, and he has been back. So Sanaraj comes into all the calculations and is a live runner. We then move on to Dave the King. Now, this is a very interesting 3-year-old because my belief is he will not stay the trip. He's by Global View, which is a source of speed, and he is out of a Jetmaster mare. So if you start analysing his form, he won at 1,200 metres very well. That was a graduation. He then went to the KwaZulu-Natal Guineas and ran a very good race behind Charles Dickens. On that type of form, he's got to have some sort of chance. But he likes to race handy. I expect him to be in front. And the last 200, I think he will be found wanting. But he's a very nice horse. He'd probably find that he's a miler plus, maybe mile and a quarter horse. It will be interesting to see how he runs because he's trained by a master who's got him absolutely right in a race like this. And he's 1 kilo better off with the favourite. So on paper, you'd think he'll go it. Will he go it? That's the big question. Number